It's called, how do you call that? Karma phala datta, isn't it? The karma phala datta means the giver of results. I can claim the actions. It doesn't mean that I don't expect anything. Of course I expect. It's a mistake to say I don't expect anything. But I can claim my actions, I did it, but then the results come from him. So if the person has those attitudes, then it's called the Yoga Shastra part of the Vedanta. Yoga Shastra means that which brings about something which is not attained, which means a mind that has shuddhi. To bring it to become, a mind has a shuddhi to become shuddhi. So that the mind will be available is called adhikari. Fit for the knowledge to take place so he can own up the self. It is not a goal in itself, it's a means for self-knowledge. That's what's called karma yoga means. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord is actually explaining that to Arjuna. Go ahead and do what you need to do. But then take out the foolishness that you are the one that creates everything. See, you can claim the actions, no problem. I'll give you a break for that. But the results, they're mine. That's what he says, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And not only that, when you act in the world out there, then see me everywhere. And that dharma is myself. So have love for me. It's called devotion, it's called bhakti. So in that respect, then we take the Bhagavad Gita as such, and then it becomes a very beautiful means to be able to not get ourselves rubbed off. Rubbed off? Mm-hmm. The thing became rubbed off. The blade used to be one inch thick, now it's about half an inch thick. You can't rub it off. Why? Because that karma yoga attitude is not there. So that's how we look at this, and so I wanted to bring about, what the basis of our study is. And I know I went a little bit more. It's a good thing to, because I know you must know it already, your culture and all that. But I thought that way you can see where the class goes in here in the course of the months and years that we're having it. And so everybody participates. So anyway, any questions or any comments you have? How does it feel to look at it again from scratch?
Isn't ego part of nature or prakriti?
Excuse me?
Ego?
What about it?
Isn't it part of prakriti or nature?
Yeah, it becomes part of nature, that's correct. But ego in this case, from the Vedantic point of view, ego is a mistake. It's a mistaken identity.
It's part of nature.
It's part of nature, yes. But the problem is identification. There's two kinds of ego. The blind ego that's completely oblivious to the nature of oneself and becomes crystallized, me, mine only is there. And then there's also the illumined ego. Illumined ego means someone, it's called like a jnani, functioning in the world out there, and it's got this mind, it's got this intellect, and it says I am and I go and this and that, but it's an illumined ego. And an example that is placed is like this. If you have a grandpa, okay, playing marbles with a baby, the marbles you guys play over there with a kid, you play the game and you play to win and everything else. But then you know that there's no value in marbles, isn't it? You're playing with a kid for the sake of playing with a kid. But if you are a kid, then one marble becomes life and death. Do you understand? So the illumined ego goes around the world playing the roles that he has to play or she has to play, without the foolishness that I am the doer. There is no hankar. You see, he knows I am a karta, meaning what I don't do. But then there is this karta that's doing, but that is not me. It's like, again, another example is a ring will be like the ego. And the goal is Atma, the truth. Okay? Now, if the ring says, I am a ring, I'm a beautiful ring, I'm a crooked ring, it's the ego. Now, Then he discovers aham goal asmi. I am that goal. And then I am the goal. Now, but then it still is a crooked ring. No problem. Before he used to feel jealous about the straight ring. He used to be proud because it was a male ring. And it was a diamond ring, he felt proud about it. And then when he saw a bigger diamond, he felt really up and down. It's called samsara. Samsara? Samsara? A person that is just buffeted. Now the person knows, I am the gold, and I'm playing the role. I happen to have a shape that is a little crooked. So, oh my God, I'm not crooked. Gold is not crooked. It's just a ring. So that person, the ring will be the ego. And if identifies with the ring, then the person is bound. Identifies with the self, the truth. Then even though the ring might be crooked, and it still says, I am a crooked ring, no problem. It doesn't have this thing of, there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. That is called jnanam. That's knowledge. That's what this whole thing is about. To come to discover ourselves as such. So ego is part of the Prakriti. But the Prakriti itself is only apparent. As a matter of fact, there is no ring. There's no ring. There is no ring.
Ring.
There is no, in the example, there's no ring. Now, let's suppose someone knows gold.
Yeah.
And I ask him, please bring me the ring. He says, oh, it's on the table. And the guy goes around and he comes back and says, there's no ring, it's not there. What do you mean I left it there? And the guy doesn't know what ring is. But he knows gold. See, so ring is only apparent. Mithya. So ego and Prakriti are mithya. They have an apparent reality that is lent by the reality. There's no table. There's no table. All there is marble. So the Jagat, there's no Jagat. Honestly. All there is Ishvara, the Lord, or Brahman. Now, and then he says, wait a second, if all there is only this Brahman, then what am I? You mean I have no value? Of course, for example, the body and the relationships, yes, my wife will say, yes, you have a value. It's insurance policy and all that stuff. But ultimately, all there is Brahman. I am that Brahman. You are that Brahman. There's not two. There's not two, it's only Advaita. That's all it is. But from the standpoint of this reality, the empirical reality, there's two. So there is table, we use it. So that's the thing. So this Prakriti that you're talking about is true to a point. What gives it being is being. And that being is not Prakriti. Ring is Prakriti. And it is. What gives it isness? What gives it being? That which gives it being is called Satyam. In terms of the ring, it's called gold. So the universe, the manifestation is like ring. And every creature in the manifestation, every manifested aspect of it, from the biggest to the smallest, it's called Prakriti. It's all nothing but Brahman. So the idea here is to recognize that to have the capacity is called the eye of Shiva. Destroy the mistake. See, I'm going to destroy the table. Watch this, I'm going to destroy the table. Watch this. Marble. I just destroyed the table. So I'm going to destroy him, myself. That's not true. That knowledge has to sink into the heart. There has to be how do you call this? A shift in cognition. A shift in cognition. Cognitive change. You understand? Cognitive change. Cognitive change, that's correct. that cognitive change has to take place, because if it doesn't take place, then the rule will be I should. I look at my day, I look at my life, and I can see that there's mostly dukkha and very little sukha. You know, dukkha, 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 sukha, dukkha, 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 sukha. See, it's a wavering thing. And it is because of the identity, incorrect identity. The cognition is that we give reality to the manifestation as absolute reality. And I see myself as separate, when the fact is Advaita. There is no separateness. And that is the only aim of the Bhagavad Gita when it's taken from the Vedantic point of view. Even though it can be taken also as a moral thing, or something sacred that you can actually respect. You know, oh yeah, Gita, Krishna, yeah. Fine, it helps. But the ultimate purpose of the Gita is for the individual to recognize there's not two. Just not two. Not just one, not two. It completely negates duality. That's what the Gita does. And that requires viveka. You know viveka? Viveka. To be able to distinguish
Discriminate.
Yeah, to distinguish between what appears to be true and what is true. And you don't see with these eyes, with the ears. And you need to have a means of knowledge to be able to pick that up. You know, you understand? I can just be kicking a rock. And when you see the rock that I kicked, they say, wait a minute. It's a rock. You pick it up and you take it home, you become a millionaire. Why? Because he knows something about the rock. What? It's a beautiful diamond there. You understand? So what is the difference? The guys develop discrimination. And this is about something here. So the jnani, the Vedantin, yes, he sees rock. He knows it's not rock. It's a diamond right there. So this person is like a rock that has no shape and is useless. We judge, even though we find everybody applauds us and this and that, we wrote books and we become very important and stuff like that. But somehow in us there's a sense of inadequacy. We look at ourselves as that rock. And a jnani doesn't see you as such. He sees you as the most beautiful, amazing thing. Why? What does he see? What is there to see that he sees that I don't see? He sees me as I am, not as I appear to be. Why? Because he knows himself as he is, not as what appears to be. That is why a person that is a jnani doesn't judge you. He just worships you. Serves you. Why? Because he cannot have any jealousy or anything, because he sees himself everywhere. That's why they call it an ocean of love. They use that. That is because he has this vision, this knowledge. And it is not theoretical. It's a direct, immediate knowledge of himself. That is, so in the Vedantic teachings and the classes, we try to always go down to that. We use arguments and so on, we see, understand, and we are applicable. Ultimately, it's always going home, trying to go home, because the mind, we cannot, who knows if I have the last beat in my heart? Anybody's heart, aneurysm can happen like that. So, the person needs to, if the person is a seeker of truth, needs to discover the self. So the Gita is always constantly going and telling you the amazingness that you are, if there is such a word. And it's not just a brainwashing thing. It's talking about a fact about you. So there's a methodology is for that. So the question is very good, yeah. the nature, that's this mind, this ego is part of this nature, this Prakriti. But even Prakriti, is nothing but Brahman. There's only Brahman, nothing else. That's all there is. That's why your name is very appropriate. Now, your mind has to actually recognize Aham Brahmasmi. And once you recognize that, you first take it in faith, in principle, at the beginning. You first take it as an educated, and it's okay, fine. How is that? And then you don't see the fact right away, but you subscribe to that, and then commit to discover that. Let's suppose somebody tells you, hey, we need to put a bridge between here and there. I say, wow. And nobody can figure it out. And then one day you say, you know what, there must be a way. You don't see how. There must be a way. Then you become vichar. Vichar means you start doing investigation. And look at all the possibilities. You look at the ground, look at this, look at the depth, look at all this stuff. Look at the materials available. If there's the material, you create the material, whatever. And you don't even know if it's going to happen, but somehow you say it's got to be a way. So the I am Brahman is what the rishis tell me and the scripture tells me. And I'd be a fool if I don't follow that, because what more can I be? As a matter of fact, everything points to the fact. In the fact that I'm looking for a self that is free from want. And that I need to discern. That's because some people like that. Yeah. Anyway, where did we leave last time?
4:30.
4:30. Okay.
Definition of Brahman.
The last paragraph. Yes. Now you were making a comment last time. Okay. Definition of a Brahmana. Brahmana, is that the right Brahmana?
Brahmana.
Brahmana. Yeah.
Is others call it Brahmin.
Mm-hmm.
So Brahmin and Brahmana are
same.
the same.
I'm going to read what we did the last time. It says, when you have no wishes, you do not need any wishes fulfilled. That you are full and complete means that you have no wishes. But to know that you are full and complete, you must be a Brahmarshi, isn't it? Meaning that you must be a knower, a Brahman, a Brahmanyani. There's an Upanishad called, give me the name?
Vajra Shuchi Kopanishad.
That's right. Vajra Shuchi meaning a diamond needle, one that pierces and thus defines. A Brahmana is defined in it as follows. A Brahmana is one who has Brahma Jnana, knowledge of Brahman, and everyone else is what? A Brahmana. A Brahmana. Now, we talked about last time. We discussed that. Mm-hmm. Now, if you know Brahman, and not, we said, I used the example of, we can know about a place by means of a brochure or a book. You can pick up a book about someplace, Cancun, or Madras or whatever. And then you can learn about it. And you have knowledge of Cancun, knowledge of Madras, because of the book. So this knowledge of Brahman, this jnani, doesn't have brochure knowledge of that. In other words, he is that. He's like the one that goes to Cancun and stays there. So this fellow, if he's a knower of Brahman, then that fellow is a free person. And in that person, if Brahman means the whole, big. Nara is an adjective. Remember that? When they use the word Brahman, it talks about big. But Nara is an adjective because any adjective is always in reference to something else. Big house, big man, big time. It's always reference to something. In other words, so there is that which is big, and then there's always something bigger. Nothing can be big. That which is big could be small in reference to something else.
Relative.
That's why it's a relative big, that's correct. So when they say about Brahman, they talk about big in an absolute sense. Not as a adjective, but as a what? As a noun.
Noun.
And that big is not two. In other words, whole, complete. Now, if you know yourself to be that Brahman, what wish could you have? In order to wish something, there got to be the wisher and the thing that is wished and the wishing. That's Dvaita. Is that right? The wisher, the thing to be wished, and the wishing. It's called Dvaita, duality. The word Brahman doesn't apply to that. A person can go out there and say, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am one, and looks at that, I like to have that. I am Brahman, repeating the name of Brahman and all that doesn't make you Brahman. You are Brahman, and you don't have to repeat anything. But if you are establishing Brahman, not as not a consequence of a brochure be read, or somebody told you about it, you are establishing Brahman. It's called Brahmanishta, or Sthita Pragna, isn't it? Establishing knowledge, that knowledge. And not knowledge of something, because any knowledge is of something. Here is knowledge of the knower, the ultimate subject I. So therefore that person, recognizing the truth, then there's nothing to wish. Now you say, hey, I know this guy, and they say that guy is established in the self, he's a Brahmanishta. In other words, he's a Sthita Pragna. But then, he's at an ashram. And the guy wants to put a particular path to go from here to there. Oh, he's a wishes, he must not be Brahman. Hey, wait a minute. That has nothing to do with that. The fellow is functioning. Krishna, Lord Krishna himself, when he came, he found himself in a kadana and said, wait a minute, I got two guys, they both want me. Okay? Now when he told Arjuna, okay, I'll tell you what, he chose Arjuna, you choose first. And then I said, yeah, I choose you. Yeah, but I'm not going to have an army. No worry, give it to Duryodhana, it doesn't matter. But then I have one wish. And you got a wish? Oh my God, this is Arjuna, this is Krishna, the guy has wishes? Yeah, I'm not going to pick up a weapon. That's a wish, isn't it? Isn't that a wish?
Yeah.
Oh, the guy must not be a Sthita Pragna. It's a wish. And the person can function. He says, I'm not going to pick up a weapon. And I'll go with you, no problem. So a person can function, play the role. Listen please. Play the role. Recognize the manifestation. This theater, this stage, and play in the stage all the roles. But not be off the role. He's like a good actor. He plays a role to the hilt. But he never loses sight that he's his mother's son. Had nothing to do with the play. Like that. So this person that is established, the Brahmanyani, that fellow has no wishes from the standpoint of, if I do this, I'll be okay. If I get this, I'll be okay. If I get rid of this, I'll be okay. There's no problem. The wishes are not there. Why? Because he's okay, full. But then he plays a role in the manifestation, which is mithya. He plays the mithya, no problem. He recognizes Satyam, and he sees Mithya as Mithya. Understand Mithya meaning? Apparent. And the person's personality will manifest. I'm going to give you an example. Back in the 70s, 80s, 70s, Swami Chimananda used to hold camps, spiritual camps. And usually we chose a university and we organized the whole thing. And we spent 10 days, 100, 200 people, in the camp. University, during the summertime, there is no classes and so on. And they prepared the food for us. We had vegetarian. Swamiji came and we had a kutri for him, and everybody had their very nice accommodations. And classes, we used to have a hall and have the classes and everything else. And that particular camp, just before the camp started, was everybody got together, and so we had this little hall, and then Swami Chimananda came, and then he introduced the camp. He said, okay, we're going to have this camp, and this and that, said what the subject was going to be, but before we start, I like to have someone that I have a lot of respect for, to actually address you, so he can inaugurate himself. So he says, Swamiji, please come up. All of a sudden, out of a corner, there was this bundle of clothes. This was one of those places that it was carpeted, and he had 2, 3 different levels. Everything was carpeted. There was no chairs. It was carpeted. And out there in the corner, all of a sudden we realized there was somebody there. It was a person. And he says, I want to introduce you to Swamiji, which I have a lot of respect. His name is Swami Nityananda. And then this guy rises up, humbly, comes to the podium. Swamiji prostrates to the guy, Swami Chimananda. And you want to see 2 different personalities. Swami Chimananda was like a Raja. Man, imposing. This guy comes in, humble guy. Humble guy, just quiet. And you know what he did? He said, Hari Om. He stood there. Swamiji would have been roaring Vedanta and all. You guys stood there. And everybody was expecting for the guy to say something. A minute went by, 2 minutes went by, 5 minutes went by, and the guy didn't say anything. Hari Om, that is Vedanta. He went and became another bundle of clothes in the corner. Completely different manifestation, expression. People established, they manifest in different ways. Now, a Vedanti should be, a Jnani should be like this, it should be, and there's no such a thing. The personalities could be different, it doesn't matter. But they play the role according to the character and personality, and you say, hey, this guy here, I don't think he's the right one. Okay, fine, no problem. That's your opinion. So that's the idea. So it has nothing to do with how you act and what you say and what you don't say. The style of teaching has nothing to do with that. It has to do with where is he coming from. Listen, please. Where is he coming? I'm not talking about a geographical place. Where is he coming from? Is he coming from an identity with a personality? Or is he coming with an identity with a whole? And then that you cannot judge. You cannot judge. The only one that knows is the one that knows, and someone that knows. Listen, please. The only one that knows is the person that knows, and then that person who knows. It's very difficult to determine that. I'll tell you one way for you to know. A person can know that somehow. As Swamiji once told me, he says, hey, look over here. Stand behind me. Now, look at what I'm looking at. See what I'm seeing. It's not physically stand behind me, but see what I'm seeing. Yes.